Hello and welcome to the Strong, Healthy, Happy podcast. This episode is a different type of podcast episode to my usual episodes because this is the Feel Great, Lose Weight 6 week group coaching check in response. And I'll talk a little bit about what that is and what that means and why you would be interested in listening. But the 6 week group coaching program started last week. This is the end of our first week and my clients are doing really well. There's always a lot to take on board in week one, lots to learn. Sometimes it can feel a little bit overwhelming, but we have a chat group, a WhatsApp chat group, where there's been lots of interaction through the week, lots of support, both from me and from other people within the group. So there's a lot of community support. And you might be asking yourself, why would I record a podcast episode for my group coaching ladies when I can talk to them directly? And the reason being is that what my clients might be struggling with from their group coaching might also be something that you can resonate with or something that you might also be struggling with. And so by listening to this podcast episode and the subsequent podcast episodes, you are going to be learning and benefiting from my coaching expertise and hear my responses. So it's going to be very beneficial for you, as well as give you a bit more of an understanding about what coaching is like with me and what the group coaching entails. Now, the group coaching is a 6 week program. And as part of that 6 week program, clients get to check in every week. And you might think, what the hell is a check in? A check in is when my clients reflect on their week. They recognize their wins and what went well, challenges, and ask questions. And this is my way of responding to everybody because it is a group format, it's not individual coaching. And it's going to be really beneficial. But this is the first time I've recorded a podcast like this. And like anything new, it takes practice to get good at it. So bear with me. The format of these podcasts is I'm going to start by talking about the wins that my clients have experienced and then go on to maybe some challenges. And then I will be giving some advice about how you can overcome and deal with certain challenges. So it's going to be helpful for you too. And then there might be some topics that I'm going to talk about as well so that I can help set my clients and you up for the week ahead. Because I'm sure a lot of what they're experiencing is going to relate to you too. So, wins this week, Claire is really doing well with. She's using food photos as her method of tracking her food intake. She's not tracking calories and she's finding it really easy to upload all her meals. And I've looked over her meals and they're looking really nutritious, lots of added veg, lots of protein. And the good news is that she isn't feeling hungry at all, even though she's dieting. She's also walked every day and she's exercised 3 times this week. And she has already lost 6 pounds in her first week. Now, I don't often talk about scale weight specifically, but Claire has really put in a lot of effort this week. And you can see that, progress is made from the amount of effort that you put in. And alongside this scale weight progress, she is feeling so much better. And I coach my coaching more about how people are feeling, how my clients are feeling. But I didn't want to skim past her progress on the scales because it is relevant. She does want to lose weight and she already is. Now, Amber, her wins are really big because she has had a really challenging week. She's got 3 young children, 2 of which have been unwell and they've been home from school. She also works alongside this. And so her time has been impacted. She's been extremely busy. But where her wins are and what she's done and what she's focused on is she has controlled what she can by focusing on her nutrition. So instead of focusing on what she can't control, it's been a bit more difficult to get out walking because she can't leave her kids on their own. They're too young. It's been harder to do exercise because the kids have been around, plus she's working, she works from home, she works quite long hours as well. So her time's been impacted, and she's focused on what she can control, and for her, she has been able to focus on her nutrition and take on board the advice that I've given her during the week, alongside some helpful resources. She's also stuck to her diet, even though it's been a stressful week. And what I want to really point out here is often, and perhaps in the past, even for Amber and maybe for you, is when things get stressful, when life gets stressful, or when something gets in the way of you doing all the things you want to do, it's really easy to just hit the quit button, because it's almost like, well, if I can't do it all, I don't want to do any of it. And that will take you further away from your goals, as opposed to thinking, I can't do everything. I do want to, but I can't. So I'm just going to do the best that I can. And this is exactly what Amber has done. And she's feeling really proud for it. And she absolutely should. Something she has recognized going into the week ahead is that she does need to get a bit more organized. And this is really key for everybody. In setting yourself up for success and being organized, planning and scheduling time in your diary to do all the things that you want to do to set yourself up for success and make progress to your goal is going to be really important. And it's something I do, and it's something I encourage all my clients to do. So if you're struggling with feeling organized, lack of planning, take a little bit of time, perhaps on a Sunday evening or the evening before each day, to plan your day ahead. Is use your diary and plan and schedule in the same way that you would uh, enter a dentist appointment or a hair appointment. Do the same for the things that you need to do that support your goal. So, for example, do you need to get shopping? When are you going to get that shopping? Does it need to be an online shop? Are you visiting the store? Plan it, schedule it, and put it into your diary. Because if you don't have the food in your environment, in your home, it's going to make it harder for you to make those choices that support your goal. Are you scheduling time to prepare a few meals, couple of meals, or cook your weekly regulars, or prepare or chop your weekly regulars? Schedule time in to do that. It doesn't just magically happen, and you don't want to get to the end of the week and going into a new week and think, I haven't got the food in the house, I haven't prepared anything, I've got a busy week, and I don't know what to do. So keep time aside, schedule time aside to do that. Schedule and plan times for you to do your exercise and to going on your walks. And what you'll find will happen is, when you've got these planned into your diary, they will more likely keep you accountable to getting them done. And also remember, on the app, the coaching app, you can schedule in exercise sessions and activities. So you can schedule that in, and it will come up on the dash, and it will serve as a reminder. So you can do that as well as your diary or instead of your diary. And also for Amber, she has made progress this week, even though it hasn't been a perfect week, even though lots of her time has been impacted. Doing what she can, the best she can, has enabled her to make progress. Now, Rebecca, she's increased her steps this week, as well as increasing her protein, and she also hasn't felt hungry at all this week. And I'm really pleased to hear this, because I know from speaking to a lot of women and working with a lot of women who have an extensive dieting history, is all those previous diets just left them miserable and hungry, and quite often would lead to overeating. And this has not happened. She's had a great first week. She's even enjoyed a meal out for her husband's birthday. She is feeling more positive towards food. She has a healthier relationship with food. And it's really, really, it's music to my ears to hear this, because food is nourishment. And when you understand more about food values, the different quantities of food types, and increase your own knowledge, it enables you to make much more informed choices and take control of your nutrition and understand how to eat to support your goal, no matter what your goal is. Debbie is moving more. She's got a much more positive outlook, and she set herself an intention to get one of the workouts done next week. She wasn't able to do that this week, but she has set herself an intention to do that. And the same way that I've just talked about planning and scheduling, Debbie, you need to plan that into your diary so that you know on this day at this time, that's what you're going to be doing, and you're more likely to get it done. She is also working on increasing her protein intake, and you'll hear me talk about protein a lot. And just to make you aware that protein is essential for your health. It is the most important macronutrient. And in terms of weight loss, eating a diet high in protein makes sense because protein keeps you fuller for longer. And when you're dieting and you're in a calorie deficit, which means you're eating less than your body requires, you need to try and keep your protein high so that you don't feel hungry. And also, when you're putting meals together alongside your protein, you want to add plenty of veg or fruit, depending on the meal type. And the majority of the space on your plate needs to be coming from protein and veg, with a lesser amount of carbs and a smaller amount of fats. And this is how you generally create a balanced diet. Now, Vicky, her wins, she's been more active. She's done her workout. She's been out for some lovely walks. And in our chat group this week, I set a task for everyone to share the view of their walk, which everyone has done. And we all live in different areas. So it's great to see where everyone has been walking. Vicky's been working long hours. She's been working at an exhibition. She's found it hard to take her own food in for packed lunch because there's not been the type of food available at the exhibition to support her goal. But she's come up against like a challenge of what to take in because there's no fridge to keep her food chilled. And obviously, we've had warmer weather here in the UK. And so, what I would recommend doing, whether you have a job where you take a packed lunch in and you might have the same circumstances of keeping it chilled, is I would recommend using a small freezer bag and an ice pack and taking yourself in some salads, sandwiches, fruits, yogurts, anything that's easy for you to travel, food that you enjoy. And I do just want to sort of highlight on the sandwich. People think that sandwich is not good. I don't like to use the word not good, but people think sandwiches are unhealthy or bread. You shouldn't eat bread. Sandwiches are actually are a very balanced meal. If you have a high protein filling, like lots of chicken slices or cooked meats or ham or whatever is you like to put inside, with lots of salad, your sandwich becomes a very balanced meal. And of course, I always encourage extra salad, vegetable sticks to increase the volume and the quantity of your lunch for not many calories. Tara has increased her steps. She's also much more aware of protein. She's been adding it to all of her meals, and she's doing really well with that. She wasn't really aware of protein prior to coaching, as most of my clients aren't, but she's come a long way in just 1 week. Now, Stella, she's at uni. She's one of my younger clients. And this week, she has been much more mindful of what she's been eating, and she has chosen much more healthier options. And she now has the knowledge to do that because of the support and the coaching that she's received in this first week as part of the Feel Great Lose Weight coaching method. She's now started taking packed lunches into uni, which means she can take more filling and nutritious meals that align with her goals. And she is tracking her calories. So she is able to track a lot more accurately because she knows exactly what she is making for her lunches. She has also enjoyed meals out, and she now has much more understanding of how to make smarter choices when she's eating out. She says it's been hard, but she has felt the benefits, which is absolutely great. Now, one of her challenges is she finds it hard to get out walking on her own. She likes to walk with a friend, but her friend has not always been available. And what I would recommend is that if you are on your own, don't let that be a reason not to get out walking. Put some headphones in or earphones in and listen to a podcast or some music. And if you listen to something that you enjoy, it doesn't have to be like an educational podcast. It can be something that makes you laugh. And I know when I'm on my walk on my own and I listen to a podcast, sometimes I end up lengthening my walk just so that I can get to the end of the podcast. So give it a go. Sonia has smashed her step target this week. She's been tracking her food really accurately. She's completed all her workouts. And even though she attended a barbecue over the weekend, she did not use it as an excuse to have a blowout. Now, I want to just talk about this more because this is a really big win. Because when you realize that social occasions can be enjoyed without ruining your progress, it is a game changer. And I find that with lots of ladies that I speak to, plus clients that are going through the coaching progress, is prior to coaching, because social occasions felt a bit beyond their control, they felt like they were unable to make choices to support their goal, and so just took the approach of, well, I'm just gonna, I'm going all in because I can't control anything, so I'm not going to worry about it. And that will end up taking you further away from your goal than actually thinking about what can I control, what can I do more. And I'm going to talk about social occasions after the wins, when I go through the wins in this podcast. So stay listening. Laura has learned. Okay, so let me just explain. You ladies listening, and my clients listening, prior to coaching, many of you have done diet clubs. You have weighed in once a week. And weighing in once a week is the most inaccurate way to measure your scale weight, to use scale weights. You are a human being, and as a human being, your scale weight fluctuates for many reasons, many, many reasons. And that is perfectly normal. It could be because you haven't been to the toilet yet. It could be because you ate late last night and it hasn't yet fully digested. So the amount of food in your stomach is there. The food volume is there. Maybe you had a bit more salt on your food and you're just retaining a little bit of extra water. Maybe you did a really hard workout and you've got some inflammation. That will affect your scale weight. Maybe you had a poor night's sleep. That will affect your scale weight. Maybe you're struggling with a bit of stress. That will affect your scale weight. There are lots of things that affect your scale weight. But when you take a more empowered approach to your scale weight, you understand that scale weight fluctuates. Now, I recommend to my clients, those that use scale weight, not all my clients do, is that they take a daily scale weight, always first thing in the morning, without clothes, before breakfast, and after using the toilet. And that way, they just record the data because it's just data collecting. And they do that every day, or at the very minimum, 5 times a week. And so they learn that their body fluctuates. Maybe at certain times of the month, hormonally, they will start to see a pattern when their scale weight fluctuates as well. And instead of reacting to scale weights, thinking that what they're doing isn't working, or that they're failing, or they may as well quit, they now recognize that their scale weight does fluctuate and it's normal, and that they just carry on doing what they've been doing, and the scale weight will come back down again. And that is my clients are seeing this and proving that this is the case. So something for you to think about as well, as a listener, if you're listening to this and you're doing one scale weight a week. Laura says that she's also noticed that her scale weight changes at different times of the day. And my advice here is you only weigh once a week, always first thing in the morning. Do not get on those scales again. There is no need. Now, challenges for a couple of my clients this week is that they have got lots going on in their life, lots of personal stresses, and it is affecting their ability to get everything done. And what I want to reassure anybody that is going through something where it's causing stress or impacts your time, or maybe it's work pressures or family pressures, is that it is really important to focus on what you can do and not what you can't. And also to recognize that something is always better than nothing. You don't have to try and do things perfectly, because I never ask my clients to do things perfectly. I don't like to actually see perfection. I much prefer to see clients doing the best they can in the situation they're in, even if it's imperfect, but yet they do it consistently. This will bring you and bring them a lot more progress. Carolyn, she's had a great step count this week. She's over 13,000 steps a day. She's felt more in control of her food, and she's been also increasing her protein intake and is now adding it to most of her meals. Obviously, we're going to work on this because we want to get it in all of her meals. Of course, the odd meal isn't going to have any detriment, but to manage and regulate hunger and appetite, it's a good idea to keep that protein intake regular. The other really big benefit of eating protein at regular intervals through the day is because it will stimulate what's called muscle protein synthesis, which is the repair and build up of your muscle tissue. And your muscle is important for your long-term health. And if you're looking to build muscle to look more toned, you need protein to repair that muscle tissue so that it can build. Carolyn has also had a tough week, feeling pulled in all directions and feeling overwhelmed. And I do understand these feelings, and they're very valid. And the advice I just gave earlier applies to you, Carolyn. Try not to feel like you have to do everything. It is okay to not do things perfectly. Do the best you can and know that your best is always going to be good enough. Now, some topics that I've been asked, or questions that I've been asked, that I'm going to discuss. And that is, Claire has some social events coming up this week, which she thinks she's going to find challenging. Now, I want to just touch on social events. I did earlier already in this podcast, but social events are an important part of life. They are where you are socializing, connecting, whether that be with family, friends, whoever. It is important to enjoy these social occasions and not be overwhelmed with feelings of, what am I going to eat? Am I going to stick to my goal? Am I going to do this? Can I do that? That's not healthy. To minimize those negative thoughts and feelings going into a social occasion, I can't stress enough the importance of creating and writing yourself a plan. Now, I know that might sound a little bit ridiculous, but having a plan is going to help you create the approach that you want to have to your social occasion. And your plan will differ depending if you're having a meal out, whether you're going to a friend, depending what type of social occasion it is. And I did just actually record a podcast episode. It's the one before this one. I think it's number 25, all about social occasions and how to create a plan. And I really do encourage you to listen to it in full. But for the moment, my main tips when you have a social event: eat your other meals as usual. You might want to make them a little bit smaller, and I encourage you just to stick to protein and veg so that you can have a bit more calories to put towards your meal out. But don't go to your social occasion in a hungry state. If you go in an overly hungry state, chances are you're going to overeat. So eat your other meals as normal. You don't have to not eat to have a good appetite for when you go out, because it could very well go pear-shaped. If you're going to eat at a restaurant, check the menu beforehand. And some of the mainstream restaurants will have calories. You can make an informed choice. If there's no calories, but it's generic food meal types, you could search for an alternative on a generic restaurant website, just to sort of get an idea of what the food values are. But what I would do is I would always stick to what I call single ingredient foods, which are like, steak, salad, things that aren't in creamy sauces, things that are easy for you to know, well, I know I've got the veg, I know I've got, the chicken or whatever it is that you're eating. It makes it a lot easier to manage the calories. And I talk about calories whether you're tracking or not. At the end of the day, calories is a unit of energy, and your food is measured in units of energy, just like pounds and pence for money. You may not watch your money, you may not budget your money, but you still have to be aware of pounds and pence because that's what money is. And it's exactly the same for your food and drink. It all is measured by units of energy, and energy is calories. What I would recommend, just going back to the menu, is choosing 2 or 3 options that you know align with your goal. And then when you get to the restaurant, if you've already identified 2 or 3 things that you'd be happy to choose between, when you get there, you're not going to feel overwhelmed. You're not going to have this big decision fatigue. You know it's A, B, or C. And on the night or at the time that you're at the restaurant, you can decide, oh, A, B, or C. Right, I fancy B. That's what I'm going for. And you're more likely stick to your pre-planned choice. You do need to be prepared to make compromises if you want to continue making progress. You can't have it all. So compromises, if you want your chips, you're not going to, you've got to swap out your dessert. And it really comes under picking your indulgences. What is it that you really want? What do you want most of all? Pick the indulgence, because you can't have the chips, the dessert, the starter, the glass of wine. You got to choose. You got to reduce that number of indulgences, and make compromises and accept that you have a goal, and it's an empowered choice. Not because I'm telling you to, not because you think you should or have to, because you choose to, because your goal matters to you. Biggest tip I can give you is, if things don't go to plan and you eat something or drink something you hadn't planned, you haven't ruined anything. Just draw a line, carry on, and don't let it spiral out of control and think that you've ruined things and that you may as well then have extra whatever it is because you've ruined things. You haven't ruined anything. Just accept it and move on. And that way you will continue making progress. Another challenge that's kind of been brought up is drinking alcohol and socializing and drinking. And this is another podcast episode that I'm going to be recording this week. But drinking alcohol, now, I don't have anything against alcohol. I don't drink a lot of it myself, but I'm not against it. I understand that it has a place and it can absolutely be enjoyed in a moderate amount. But when it comes to weight loss, fat loss, it will impact your results. Can you include a glass of something you enjoy? Yes. But drinking a bottle of wine on a night out is not going to be conducive to your goal. And it's not only the alcohol that you're drinking at the time, because at the time it all feels amazing, feels great, it feels like fun. But the following day or later that evening, it will impact your decisions and how you feel. What are the impacts of over consuming alcohol? It reduces your mood, it reduces your energy. You don't want to make healthy food choices. Your drive to move is less. You don't want to move, you don't want to walk, you don't want to exercise. Your sleep's impacted. So it impacts you in a lot of ways. And my question to you, and something for you to think about, is, why do you feel the need to drink large amounts of alcohol? Is that what makes your afternoon or your evening more enjoyable? Are you not fun without alcohol? Are you not good company without drinking large amounts of alcohol? It's obviously your choice, but think about these things. And I know from working with clients previously, a lot of the time, it's the expectation placed upon them about, well, you always drink. Why aren't you drinking? And it's this living up to this expectation. You're an adult, you have a goal, and you can decide for yourself, and you can make those choices. So alcohol, I would minimize. You can also think about drinking lower calorie options like a gin and slimline, or like a vodka diet Coke. Wine does come in at a higher calorie cost. And also, it's very hard to keep an eye on how much you've had if your glass keeps getting filled up. It's very, very difficult. Final point, question is, how do I use whey protein powder? And this is a very good question, because whey protein powder is basically, it's a very high gold standard of protein. It's basically powdered milk. You may think of it as a supplement. However you think of it, it's fine. It's perfectly safe. Anyone can take protein powder, and it's a really cheap and affordable and easy way to include protein in your meals. And the most often meal I find that people need whey protein is in their breakfast. So if you like cereal or you like porridge oats, they are not containing protein. Even if you add milk in, it's not enough milk to give you sufficient and adequate protein. So having a serving of whey protein powder in a breakfast like a cereal breakfast really does make sense. Now, how do you use it? If I was using it in porridge oats, I would make my porridge oats as usual, and then I would mix my whey protein. I would, whether it's a scoop or a bit less or whatever you're using, I would mix it into a paste with some water. I would then add it into my porridge oats, and then you may need to add a bit more water into your oats, depending how you like your consistency. And you will get a bowl of porridge. And if you buy flavored whey protein powder, it really does jazz up your porridge oats. You can also use whey protein powder in overnight oats in exactly the same way, just mixing it all in, making sure you've got enough fluid, adding fruit into that as well. You can also add yogurt into that. If you're looking to lose weight, I would recommend you use like 0% Greek yogurt, something similar like that. And you can also drink whey protein powder. If you don't have a whizzer, a blender, you'll need a shaker with like that metal ball in that mixes it up. You can't just use a spoon to mix it. It's not going to dissolve and be tasty enough. So that's what I would recommend with whey protein. To finish up, I want to just say read back what my clients are enjoying about coaching so far. And Amber says she's really enjoying coaching so far. She hasn't ever had this much knowledge on food before, and it's given her a real understanding of what to eat and what types of food and the different quantities of those different types of food, and that no food is restricted and all food is included. Great progress. Stella is really enjoying it, and she's loving the community and the support and finding it really helpful. Sonia is enjoying it so far. She's not hungry. The workouts are good. She feels totally shattered. She put in the chat that she was aching from head to toe from her workout this week. But it will get easier. Your body will adapt. Have a great rest of your day. I will catch up with you soon and look forward to catching up with everybody on week 2. Thank you for listening. If you are interested in coaching or you have questions and you're not one of my clients, please contact me. I welcome contact, and all my contact details are in the show notes. Catch up with you on the next one.